Imagine being told you're mentally ill when your brain is actually working exactly as nature intended. Today, we're exploring why millions of highly sensitive people are being misdiagnosed with mental disorders when they're actually experiencing environmental illness.
By the end of this episode, you'll understand the crucial difference between sensitivity and mental illness, and why getting this right matters for proper treatment.
And speaking of getting things right, I've got an expert here who's been deep in the research on this fascinating topic. What's the real story behind environmental sensitivity?
Well, it's actually quite remarkable. According to recent research, about 31% of the general population can be considered highly sensitive. That's nearly 1 in 3 people.
Wait, 1 in 3? That's way more than I expected.
Right? And here's what's fascinating. It's not a disorder at all. It's actually a trait that evolved as a survival strategy, found in over 100 different species.
So what exactly makes someone highly sensitive?
These individuals process sensory information more deeply. They're more easily overwhelmed by things like bright lights, strong smells, or busy environments.
But that sounds like it could be confused with anxiety or other mental health issues, right?
Exactly, and that's where the problems start. A new meta-analysis from the University of Surrey just found that highly sensitive people are indeed at higher risk of developing mental health problems.
But that doesn't mean sensitivity itself is a mental illness.
Not at all. And this is crucial. Many highly sensitive people are being misdiagnosed with conditions like bipolar disorder, ADHD, or borderline personality disorder.
That sounds potentially dangerous. What are the consequences of these misdiagnoses?
Well, many end up being prescribed unnecessary medications that can actually make things worse. Highly sensitive people often experience greater side effects from medications.
So how can we tell the difference between environmental sensitivity and actual mental illness?
You know, it's interesting. One key difference is that triggers aren't related to trauma, but more about immediate environmental stimuli.
Can you give an example?
Sure. A highly sensitive person might need to withdraw to a quiet space after a busy day, or feel overwhelmed by bright lights or strong smells.
That makes sense. But I'm curious about something. You mentioned earlier that this trait evolved as a survival strategy.
Yes. And here's something fascinating. This trait has been around for a long time. Carl Jung actually wrote about innate sensitiveness back in 1913.
Wow. So this isn't just some modern phenomenon?
Not at all. And recent research shows it's equally distributed between genders. About 70% of highly sensitive people are introverted, and 30% are extroverted.
That's interesting. So you can be highly sensitive and still be outgoing?
Absolutely. And here's something even more interesting. Highly sensitive people often respond better to psychological treatments than less sensitive individuals.
Really? That seems counterintuitive.
It does, but it makes sense when you think about it. These individuals process everything more deeply, including therapeutic interventions.
Let's talk about the brain science behind this. What's actually happening in a highly sensitive person's brain?
Research shows they have an overly activated amygdala, which can result in an overactivated fight or flight response.
And what does that mean in practical terms?
It can lead to things like a racing heart, difficulty concentrating, and quick shifts in mood, which, again, can look like anxiety or other conditions.
So how are medical professionals supposed to tell the difference?
There's actually a specific assessment tool called the Highly Sensitive Person Scale, developed by Aaron and Aaron in 1997.
But I understand there's some controversy around that scale?
Yes, some researchers have criticized it for not being rigorously validated in differentiating sensitivity from other conditions.
That sounds problematic for diagnosis.
It can be, which is why it's crucial for clinicians to rule out other possible explanations before applying any labels.
Let's talk about the recent research. What's the latest understanding?
A fascinating new meta-analysis of 33 studies involving nearly 13,000 participants found significant correlations between sensitivity and various mental health challenges.
That sounds concerning.
It is, but here's the key. Being sensitive doesn't cause these problems. It's more about how environmental factors affect sensitive people more intensely.
So what can highly sensitive people do to protect their mental health?
The research suggests that understanding and accepting their sensitivity is crucial. It's not something to fix, it's a trait to work with.
That's an important distinction.
And it's vital for healthcare providers to understand this too. When they do, they can better tailor treatments to each individual's sensitivity level.
What about the workplace? How does this affect people professionally?
That's where environmental factors become crucial. Highly sensitive people often need different workplace accommodations, quieter spaces, regular breaks from stimulation.
But isn't that difficult in today's open office environments?
It can be, which is why awareness is so important. These aren't just preferences, they're biological needs based on how their nervous system processes information.
Let's talk about the future. What's changing in how we understand and treat environmental sensitivity?
There's growing recognition that sensitivity exists on a spectrum, and treatment approaches need to be tailored accordingly.
That makes sense.
And researchers are finding that sensitivity can actually be a strength in many situations. These individuals often show higher emotional intelligence and deeper processing abilities.
So it's not just about managing challenges?
Exactly. It's about recognizing and leveraging these traits as potential advantages while being mindful of environmental impacts.
What's the most important thing for people to understand about this topic?
That being highly sensitive isn't a disorder, it's a natural variation in how people process information and respond to their environment.
And proper diagnosis is crucial.
Absolutely. The difference between environmental sensitivity and mental illness can be subtle, but getting it right is essential for proper treatment.
What would you say to someone who thinks they might be highly sensitive?
First, know that you're not alone. Remember, it's about 31% of the population. Second, seek out healthcare providers who understand this trait.
And what about their friends and family?
Understanding and support are key. This isn't about being too sensitive, it's about having a differently wired nervous system.
This has been incredibly enlightening. Any final thoughts?
Yes, environmental sensitivity isn't something to fix or overcome. It's about understanding and working with your natural traits rather than against them.
Welcome to Distress with D. I'm D. Ann Barry, and for 52 years I was told my suffering was mental illness. But the truth? It was environmental illness, mold, sick building syndrome, toxins stored in my tissues since birth. Are you a firstborn, a light sleeper, sensitive to sounds, carrying childhood or sexual trauma, living as a silent observer of life? You are not broken. You are sensitive, and that is your body's wisdom whispering to you. Here, we'll talk about why sensitivity is not a curse but a blessing. Why so many of us are misdiagnosed, medicated, and unseen in Canada's capital, and why we must heal frugally, soulfully, and without medicine. Through my Bodhi Berry Peace Tree method, I'll share how to detox wounds, walls, and worries, and rebuild our bodies with the same love we gave our children in their first 1,000 days. You are peace. You are loved. You are the medicine. Share in the comments what you want to learn, and I'll create it for you. Together, we'll heal, be seen, and stop expiring before we desire. I'm D. Let's talk.